So you physically take the specs from the customer?
Well, no. My secretary does that, or they're faxed.
So then you must physically bring them to the software people.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
What would you say you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people?
WWE has come to terms on the releases of Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, and Santana Garrett. WWE wishes them the best in all of their future endeavors. Wow, dude.
It's
Wow.
hate hearing that future endeavors line. That just stings. It's like a dagger.
It is. I mean, it's become it's a term that sends chills up your spine, and it's now a verb. You know, like it's no longer they let people go or they fired them. It's like, did you hear who they future endeavored this morning?
Yeah.
That is it. But wow, dude, it's just like Braun Strowman was literally WrestleMania main event last year, and then the current WrestleMania event he could have been, but then he was the main event at Backlash. They 100% dropped the ball on him. Like, they dropped the ball on the Big Show. That's the hot take. They screwed him up. Why he was not a mix between Andre the Giant and Undertaker is beyond me. He had a great career, but I think it could have been greater. But Braun Strowman, dude, they have been screwing him up since before the Bray Wyatt weird angle that they did.
Yeah, and he looks better than ever.
Oh, yeah.
He looks amazing.
This is like a Vince guy in the 80s. Like, this is Insta contract back in the 80s. Like, how did they screw this up? And I know, look, the internet loves Aleister Black, and like everybody loves it, and they screwed him up. They did. I'm not saying they didn't. They 100% did. But for a guy like Braun Strowman that looks like someone that Vince would fall head over heels in love with, how did they mess that up?
I don't know.
I don't want to do the history of violence of how do you fuck that up?
Yeah.
But that's how did you mess that up?
Yeah.
That was the big shocker. To me, like saying again, Aleister Black is more of like that ECW grit guy that, of course, you should have done something with him and you didn't. Mm-hmm. I kind of put him in the Finn Balor category. It's just like, this guy's great. We don't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
Right?
But let's sign him anyway.
Yeah, so that was to me, those two were a shock. Lana, here's my hot take on Lana. She was so over when she was the Ravishing Russian, and then they kind of, she kind of got some backstage heat, and then they kind of broke kayfabe, and she got into all that weird stuff on social media.
Yeah.
But if you would have seen, like, if you watched any of the spin-off shows that they did with her, and if you followed her, she truly did want to be a badass in this business, and her and Rusev as actually doing a real life story would have been way better than having her as Bobby Lashley's ex-wife. That was just like so dumb. And they wasted her, and they started showing. And then even now, they started finally doing something with her that seemed like it was decent, teaming her up with Naomi because they both were professional dancers. And I was going to tweet them and say, why isn't their team named Dance Dance Revolution? But they screwed up. And then Ruby Riott. I mean, these are all people that they just screwed up on, and just like, creative needs to get future endeavored. Mm-hmm. It's like, you have probably the best roster that you've ever had, and you can't come up. You're telling me you can't come up with something for all these people?
Well, isn't this part of their problem? Is that they've had too many people on their roster? I feel.
Yeah,
they're overloaded with talent. We've had this conversation before. It's hard. It's hard because they try to get everyone over. No one is sort of the job guy, and so everyone is kind of. They're all kind of kept at the same level,
Yeah.
And people just aren't used to their full capacity.
No, 100% agree with you on there. And this gets into a deeper conversation. It's like, okay, you want to be the longest episodic television show in history, and you don't want to have seasons like other sports do. Well, guess what? You have a fat enough roster where you can have a roster that runs for 6 months and then takes a break, and then the other half of the roster runs for the other 6 months. And it gives you a break from everybody. It gives the wrestlers a break. It gives everybody a break of just like, it gives creative a chance to kind of get their endeavor. And then you can have, they try to do things in seasons like their TV shows. Well, what better than a season finale that like, okay, this is the last time you're going to see this wrestler for 6 months, and you kind of know that, and they can have like true blow-offs, and they can have seasons and put these wrestlers to use and let them rest.
Yeah.
Because now it's just like, now you just put a bunch of talent out there. And I don't mean to not mention that Murphy, obviously he's a great wrestler, and there's no way he wasn't going to get lost in the shuffle ever since they did that dating Ray's daughter gimmick instead of having him as that badass that he was in NXT. And then Santana Garrett, my son didn't even know who she was. Just like they never even used her.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen her on TV?
No.
She's big in the independents, and I actually forgot that she was actually signed. That's how little they did with her. But again, this was Braun being at the top of that list was very glaring, considering that, this past AEW pay-per-view, AEW signed the man who discovered Braun Strowman in Mark Henry, another powerlifter who kind of converted into a Hall of Fame career. Do you think we're going to have the world's biggest reunion with Braun Strowman, Big Show Paul White, and Mark Henry all in AEW? Should they reinforce those rings?
I mean, yeah, they're going to have to stack two together or something.
I think, man, it's just like, this is going to be, I know a lot of people get get hot over, don't just keep signing that people that WWE gets rid of. And I do agree, but you have to sign Braun Strowman. You have to, right? It's like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, I think.
What do you think? He's got a non-compete, no?
He definitely has a 90 days.
So it'll be a little while.
Yeah, it'll be a little while. But
what is his real name?
I don't know. Honestly, I do not know. I don't know. I don't think it's Braun.
I mean, has he wrestled as Braun Strowman? Did he?
No, this is his first. This was a WWE born and bred guy.
Oh.
He was nowhere else.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he was nowhere else.
So you think there was some heat there? Like,
there must have been some kind of weird backstage thing that we don't know about, or they really are more lost than we realize.
yeah.
Look up his name here. I know he's a power lifter. Adam Scherr, 37 years old. So he's in his prime, as far as like wrestlers go. That's when they really start hitting their stride. So I don't think AEW signing him is going to be any kind of risk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like they wasted him so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. And
AEW's got a lot. Well, they're in the middle of a massive expansion. Yeah, they're adding that second show. Is that going to be an hour or 2 hours? Did they say?
Hope an hour.
Yeah, an hour.
But they didn't say.
An hour would be great. So they're adding a third hour. I feel like Elevation and Dark are still sort of for their guys working on their stuff, So they'll have a full third hour, but I do think the show's feeling bloated as it is.
Yeah, and that is another concern. Is you don't want to start bloating their show and then kind of over swelling their roster.
Yeah.
And there has to be a way to get these other TV shows over to where you don't need to see the same guys across the show. And I feel like AEW's done better not having brands, but actually recognizing that you're going to see guys on Dark that you're not going to see on Dynamite.
Right.
I feel like they do that better than WWE's done with Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
It's still, I know they've honored, for the first time, surprisingly, they have honored that brand, and you don't see guys on SmackDown that you don't see on Raw unless they got the belts that they can cross over. But They've got to start getting some of these other shows over. So you're just like, I'm going to watch this show because I like these guys and I know they're not going to be on that show.
Yeah, and then when they do cross over, it's a bigger deal.
Yeah, because the problem is, and you said this before, Raw and SmackDown, other than the color red and the color blue,
Yeah.
what's the difference?
It's a 5-hour weekly show.
Yeah, that's just a different cast on that. And it's just like they haven't done enough to make it feel different.
Think about that. 5 hours. That means that could be, you could watch an hour of WWE every day after school if they programmed it that way. Your after school
Wow.
as an hour. That's a whole a lot of wrestling. I mean,
In 1 week.
yeah, and you just don't have, I don't know what it is that they need or they're lacking, but it's just that because they have so much time to fill, they have no time to draw things out.
No. And that's killer, man, because it's just before everything, they could draw out these storylines. You know, you got Saturday night's main event. You got that quarterly.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't feel like they care about quality anymore. I think they're just so interested in just cramming in quantity.
Yeah.
And that sucks. It's just like when someone was talking to me this morning and just asking me, what do you think is the best wrestling that's happening today? I said the documentaries.
Yeah.
The documentaries are the hottest
The
wrestling that's
documentaries
happening.
are hot.
Yeah, they're happening right now. And man,
That's pulling folks who don't watch wrestling at all into wrestling.
yeah, and it's bringing people back to remember.
Pulling in the murder mystery crowd.
Yeah, it is.
you know?
It is getting them, and it's in a way getting back the fans that they lost that are like yearning for, like, oh, I remember how awesome that was.
Yeah.
Because it's just there's a WWE's not just not offering that compelling content unless you watch their A&E biographies, which are great.
Right.
I'd watch those. I'd watch 3 hours of those. I'd
Yeah.
watch 3 hours of that in a row before. And it's just like, why don't they do that then? Okay, if you need to fill Raw for 3 hours, do the documentary on a network where you can actually use the content. Have the first hour be something nostalgic like that before you get to the new, or vice versa. So maybe not have that first, because then people are like, oh, why don't you do what you did before? Because that was good. That was good shit, pal. Just do something. I don't care about the 3 hours in a row, but it doesn't have to be 3 hours of that same show in a row.
Yeah.
It could be something else. You have so many people and you have so much creative and you have this huge platform. You literally can have a WWE night that's 3 hours in a row. That's 3 different shows.
Yeah.
Doing something. Because technically, Ms. and Mrs., if you do watch that, that's 4 hours of WWE programming, right? Mm-hmm. So the 3 hours of wrestling, it's just, your creative is not good enough for it. Because if you would have told me as I was kids that we were going to get all this wrestling, but we weren't going to be happy about it, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd watch wrestling every day. Mm-hmm. And now it's just like, oh, I was just assuming the content was actually going to be able to keep up with it.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting rid of stars because we might have a podcast gimmick, Dos Incredibles Network exclusive. Bray Wyatt might be on the chopping block.
Is that right?
The hottest character.
His booking's been weird for the last couple of years.
Yeah. They haven't been taking his ideas.
Yeah.
And for him to stay gone like this, and, there's got to be something to that maybe he's not happy. And he's a big enough name where he could just take his ball and go home.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's not going to be able to take that anywhere he goes with him. Mm-hmm. But does it matter? I don't know. I would pay to see him as Wyndham Rotunda in AEW.
Yeah.
Just to see what he does.
Here's the thing. Again, I got to come back to this. I don't know that AEW can take everyone.
They can't.
They can't.
They're going to have to be very selective, because after the last, Future Endeavored, I thought for sure it's like, okay, they got to take Samoa Joe. Now I'm like, now they got these other guys. Do you take Samoa Joe? Because Samoa Joe might be close to the end of his career. I don't know if that's by choice or not, but do they pay him to just be a commentator? Now just like, or do you get somebody that you're going to be able to get some mileage on the ring? And we only assume them because they obviously have, the biggest paycheck. There's other companies that could benefit from having these guys, but they might not have the money to do it. Like, you haven't really heard much from Ring of Honor, but Impact could use some of these guys.
Yeah.
But do they have the platform for it? MLW, which is about to sign a deal with Vice.
Yeah, I was going to
having
mention
TV.
that, yeah.
But then I heard that actually now Vice falls under that new weird Warner Brothers Discovery merger.
Do they?
Yeah. So it's just like, does that mean that Vice and MLW are going to fall under the same window as AEW, or is that separate? I don't know if that's the same parent company.
AEW's under
Are they under that?
Time Warner? No, well, I guess I don't know, because where AEW is now also expanding to TBS, right?
Yes.
And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who their conglomerate is, but there's enough. It's a shame because there's plenty of platforms now, but I don't think some of these guys are going to be able to afford to have these guys that they need to elevate. And look, even with Braun Strowman being a huge name, literally and figuratively, or Aleister Black being, the best wrestler, or Lana having the, inevitable reunion with Miro, I just don't think there's not enough TV time for everybody.
Yeah.
And none of these guys are also the Scott Hall to WCW feel, the Chris Jericho to WWE feel. That's going to all of a sudden pull somebody in and like, whoa, they got him. I don't know if any of this group of guys are going to be that needle mover. Do you?
I think Braun would be huge, but I also feel like he wasn't over for a while. So I think that I feel like you'd have to repackage him as something. Don't you think? I mean, he can't come over as Braun Strowman.
No.
So he's going to come over as, what was his name again?
Adam Scherr.
So is Adam Scherr going to make an impact? I don't know. I think who's going to have the biggest pop if they cross over to AEW is Lana.
Yeah, I think she's going to get a huge pop.
Yeah, and that'll be great. And I mean, her and Miro back together, and he's got the belt. That would be awesome.
And dude, and man, I say it to death. We're lucky this isn't a drinking game, or maybe we turn it into a drinking game. People are going to love that because it's real.
Yeah.
They're going to realize that it's just like, oh, cool. We know for a fact that you were married to her. You were both over when you actually left it as they were over with Ravishing Russian, right? And Rusev, she got super over. Mm-hmm. And then in Rusev Day, when he started that chant of Lana's the best, Lana's number one, right? He was trying to take some of his smoke and put it on his wife. Mm-hmm. I think they're gonna have the liberty to do that now.
Yep.
So I think she will get the biggest pop. But you're right. There's no needle movers in that group.
Yeah, and then we're going to get some like shoot opportunities for them to address the whole affair angle that they were forced to do. People will love that.
Oh God, that was awful.
Yeah.
I could not watch that. And it just sucks because there's so much talent, and then you see these talent and nobody has the juice to say, I'm not doing that. That's stupid.
Yeah.
The first response to that tweet in Future Endeavors was somebody, maybe we can play this clip. Can we play this clip? I don't know. It was great, but it went back to the CM Punk pipe bomb.
Where's this clip from?
Yeah, that's on Twitter.
But Vince McMahon's going to make money to spite himself. He's a millionaire who should be a billionaire. You know why he's not a billionaire? It's because he surrounds himself with glad-handing, nonsensical yes men like John Laurinaitis, who's going to tell him everything that he wants to hear. And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead. But the fact is, it's going to get taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law and the rest of his stupid family. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon. All right, can we do this whole bully camp?
And then they cut him off.
Yeah.
But that pipe bomb, dude, is just like, that was the first response to that. And we basically know that although he is a billionaire now because he figured out how to sell his content.
Yep.
But he's super successful and would be way more successful if he was surrounded himself with the right people. And it was sad because I was watching the Pat Patterson, I Did It My Way documentary. I finally got back onto the network on Peacock to watch that because they do make fantastic documentaries.
Sure.
And then you forgot that when it was just Vince, and Pat. And then every once in a while, later on, they got, Cornette, and they got Brother Love in there, Bruce Pritchard, and then the other Vince that shall not be named. When it was just those guys booking it, it was great. Mm-hmm. It really was. And then, like, the bigger the staff got, the worse the content got. And then when those guys started peeling away, they surrounded themselves with the wrong creative people, that just like people who aren't in wrestling, that don't have that. There's a quirkiness to wrestling booking that you do not get in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's almost like a language, like screenwriting or something. You have to understand the storytelling rules.
Yeah.
And you have to grasp them as not as a creative technique, but like a fundamental.
Exactly. And there is, like you said, that short, and there's an understanding, and the closest you can compare it to in Hollywood would probably be Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where it's just like the fans know the rules better than the person who created the content. Mm-hmm. And the wrestling fans are like that. And if you honor the histories and keep that going, you usually benefit. And when you stray away from your own rule book, they call you out.
Yeah.
And then on that day, CM Punk, what was this, back in 2011? This was way back in the day.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
He called him out. Mm-hmm. And everything he just said is actually accurate to this day. Mm-hmm. Except Vince, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever you want to call it, is a billionaire.
Yeah.
Despite his decisions.
Well, is he about to be a multi-billionaire? Because, like I was telling you before, this kind of feels like companies trimming the fat a little bit, get some folks off the payroll, get the books looking nice.
Yeah.
For a possible sale. Like, the content wars are in full swing. Amazon just bought MGM. You're not going to be able to exist in your own app anymore, in your own universe. You're going to have to fold into one of the big five that's going to probably come out,
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know, Vince he's old, right? I could say he's old. That's not wrong for me to say that.
No.
He's old. And does he maybe want to go ahead and cash out and say, I did it my way. I'll take my check now.
Yeah.
And, Stephanie and Triple H can hang out, be the face of the company, be the Dana Whites, and just, you guys take it from here. But at that point, who's booking the show?
Right. And that's what's scary.
Yeah.
Just like, hopefully, I mean, I know Punk has his heat with Triple H, but I feel okay with Triple H booking, because I do feel like he does respect the history in a weird way.
Yeah.
That old NXT shows that. Like, new NXT, I think they're struggling.
Uh-huh.
But old NXT shows that, okay. I mean, they're doing an angle right now in NXT that I think should be on the main roster there, not where, Cameron Grimes has that deal where he made a bunch of money on the GameStop stock.
Yeah.
And now he's just like, he was like this redneck who's like redneck rich now, but he got into a weird feud with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, of just like, doesn't matter how rich you are, you're never going to be as rich as the $1 Million Man.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's great.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that I don't mind the cartoon quirkiness. It just, when it's stupid, for lack of a better term, it doesn't make sense. And there could have been, they had bad booking for Braun. They had bad booking for everybody they let go, except the Riot Squad. I thought they was like, okay, they finally put them back together. It makes sense. You guys have been screwing it up with Liv Morgan for so long. You've been not booking her properly, and she started getting over despite the booking. I'm like, okay, I like the Riot Squad. Give them a run with the tag belt. Now we'll just get rid of one of them.
Yeah.
Very similar to what happened with the Iconics. Now we need to break them up. And you know what? Never mind. Just get rid of both of them.
Yeah.
It's like, that sucks, man. So, I don't know. We truly do wish this group the best of luck in their future endeavors, because I think all of them are going to land on their feet. A lot of them are probably going to be better off, even if they can't go to AEW, because AEW can't save them all. Cody should be the inspiration to show that there is life after WWE, and go to one of these other companies and help, push the envelope. Like Rock said, The Rock said, have some of these guys that are willing to say, no, that's stupid, I'm not going to do that. Be willing to walk away and bet on yourself.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that and just like come on the show here.
Yeah.
We'll bet on you.